Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished President, members of the Human Rights Council, Excellencies, colleagues, friends. The Council has been presented with reports of the Secretary General and of the High Commissioner concerning the human rights situation in Colombia, Cyprus, Guatemala, Honduras, Iran, and regarding the situation of the Rohingya, Muslims, and other minorities in Myanmar. I will also, in a separate statement, give the Council oral updates on the human rights situation in Venezuela and Yemen. My remarks this afternoon will include updates on recent issues in the countries under discussion. I begin with a report on Colombia. The report is A/HRC/41/3/8.3. 2 years after the signature of the peace agreement between the government and the FARC-EP, I encourage the government to implement the special jurisdiction for peace in a comprehensive manner. Regarding the presidential decision to challenge 6 articles of the statutory law, I encourage the executive and legislative branches, as well as all other stakeholders, to discuss and review these articles in an expeditious and thorough manner. A prompt decision will enable the special jurisdiction to function in a more independent way, while strengthening legal security for the victims. The protection of victims' rights to justice, truth, and guarantees for non-recurrence is essential and should be at the core of all state efforts. I'm also concerned by some aspects of the newly launched security and defense policy, which increases the use of military forces to perform public security tasks and seeks to establish citizen security network. The number of killings of human rights defenders and social leaders is a source of concern. In 2018, the office documented the killing of 110 human rights defenders, 1/4 of them indigenous or Afro-Colombian people. As of 8th of March, we have received reports of 27 more killings of human rights defenders this year, and verification is ongoing. Most of these murders occur in rural areas where the FARC-EP's influence was previously strong and where the presence of the state remains weak, particularly in healthcare, education, and other fundamental services. Many human rights defenders are targeted for supporting aspects of the peace agreement, such as land restitution, victims' rights, and substitution programs for illicit crops. The masterminds behind these killings frequently remain unknown and thus benefit from impunity. I welcome the resumption of meetings by the National Commission on Security Guarantees. My office will continue to assist the state to improve protection of human rights defenders and others, and to boost accountability. I also note the country visit by the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights defenders and encourage the government to host the other experts. I welcome the reactivation of the National Plan for Human Rights and trust it will continue to include the participation of civil society. The work of upholding human rights is crucial to enabling reconciliation and peace, and I'm convinced that this measure will bring tremendous benefits to the people of Colombia. I now turn to the report on Cyprus, A/HRC/40/22. 4 decades of division of the island continue to hinder full realization of all people's human rights. The report highlights concerns regarding the right to life and the question of missing persons, discrimination, freedom of movement, property rights, freedom of religion or belief, cultural rights, freedom of opinion and expression, and the right to education. It also notes some positive development, including slow but positive steps regarding missing persons and sustained effort by civil society actors to build dialogue and cooperation. 2 new official crossing points have opened, increasing contacts between communities and enhancing freedom of movement. We continue to urge stronger efforts for mutual dialogue and the meaningful participation of women in the peace process. An impartial, in-country human rights capacity could help to ensure that human rights issues are rapidly addressed and that human rights are fully integrated into the peace process. The next report before you is on Guatemala. A/HRC/40/3/ad.1. I note a number of serious and continuing challenges to the rule of law, the independent practices of sexual violence, torture, and enforced disappearance were part of military strategy during this period. I particularly commend the courage of victims